lens is never just glass. Its focal length is the bridge between the photographer and the world. Long lenses keep their distance, they compress life into neat cinematic fragments, beautiful but restrained. Wide lenses demand presence, they ask you to step closer, risk imperfection, and share the same air as your subjects. After a month inside a 112mm frame, I realized something essential. Street photography isn't about making distant subjects look dramatic. It's how close you're willing to step into the story and what part of yourself you're willing to leave in it. And that contrast between distance and closeness, between silence and rhythm, is what I want us to explore here, together. Recently, as an experiment, I spent a month seeing the streets only through a 112mm frame. At first, it felt powerful. Distance wrapped around me like an armor, a comfort against the unpredictability of strangers. The photos looked magnificent. Compression turned the city into a stage. Every subject a character under the spotlight. The long focal length gave the frame cinematic weight, bending geometry into clean, precise shapes. For a while, it was exhilarating, but slowly I began to feel what was missing. Even as I admired the elegance of these images, I found myself chasing something else. The rhythm of the crowd, the overlapping lives, the chaos that reveals itself only when you're closer. And this wasn't the first time I had faced this realization. Years ago, I walked a similar path. I began in the safety of a long lens, standing back with a telephoto, keeping the world at a distance. It felt comfortable, but also detached, even one-dimensional. And if you followed my journey, you know the moment that changed everything. When I let go of the distance and picked up a 50mm and eventually a 35. As my focal lengths grew wider, I moved closer. My photos became more intimate, more intricate, more alive. I wasn't just observing anymore. I was part of the scene, breathing the same air, moving with the rhythm of the street, navigating its messiness and searching for the fleeting pieces that could complete the puzzle of the frame. Shooting with 112mm reminded me why that shift was so important. Why stepping closer, both physically and emotionally, transformed not only my photography, but the way I saw myself in the world. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit the like button, the new hype button, and consider subscribing with the bell. Every focal length carries a story, not just in what it shows, but in what it leaves out. The long focal lengths are storytellers of solitude, masters of exclusion. They isolate, imposing undertones that hint at meaning without revealing the whole. A stiff expression, an unusual piece of clothing, a detail that feels out of place. These fragments raise questions born from minimalism. A single figure becomes the protagonist against the blur of the world. There is elegance in that distance, a kind of order, but also a silence, as if the streets themselves have been reduced to whispers, leaving the viewer to decide the meaning in that moment. On the opposite side, the wider focal lengths are workers of inclusion. They gather, they invite characters to share the stage, weaving gestures and glances into a tapestry of connection. These lenses are untidy, unpredictable, but alive with the rhythm of the crowd, alive with the poetry of interaction. And from that realization, a lesson emerged. The stories we tell with our lenses don't just describe the world, they reshape us. The long lenses mirrored my need for control, for comfort, for the safety of watching life from afar. The wider lenses revealed something else, a willingness to step closer, to risk vulnerability, to surrender certainty and discover a meaning in the chaos. They demanded more of me, and in that friction they reshaped my vision into one sharper, deeper and hungrier for meaning, not only in my frames, but in my own choices. And those realizations were not just abstract ideas, but they shaped the way I move in the streets. Wider lenses don't just change the look of a photograph, they change the way you move. With a long lens I could stay planted in one spot, scanning from a distance, waiting for someone to step into my frame. The narrow field of view, the magnification of the world, they don't allow for big moves. Even a single step, a shift of a few centimeters, can completely unravel the composition. But with a wide lens, the streets pull me in. I have to walk faster, weave through the crowds, change my angle, search for depth. I become part of the choreography. Of course, with that comes risk. A wider lens breaks the invisible wall. You're no longer hidden, you are present. Sometimes it's rewarding, sometimes it's uncomfortable. But it's always honest. Because to be close is to be seen. I like to think of myself as an advocate of deep thinking, of premeditating my frames, searching for meaning before pressing the shutter. But some of the deepest fulfillment I found comes from the opposite. Reactive, instinctive photography, flowing through the streets and between the crowds like the wind. And just as the wind brushes against the shoulders of strangers as it passes, so does my shutter, leaving only a trace, a moment frozen on the sensor. And that's the discipline wider lenses quietly teach. The discipline of trust. Trusting your instincts, trusting your reactions, trusting that the meaning will emerge in the split second before the shutter closes. The lesson isn't that one focal length is better than another. It's that photography is a mirror. Every lens reflects not just the world, but the way we choose to meet it. The long lenses gave me distance. They showed me solitude, silence, fragments of stories left for the viewer to complete. They offered control, safety, order. The wider lenses demanded something else. They asked me to step closer, to be vulnerable, to accept a risk and imperfection. They invited me into the mess of the street, and in that mess I found rhythm, connection, and meaning. Both have their place. Long lenses can create powerful portraits and isolate beauty in ways wide lenses never could. But when it comes to the theater of the streets, when it comes to telling stories that breathe, I've learned wide focal lengths will always pull me back. Because they don't just show what's in front of me. They reshape how I move, how I see, and ultimately who I become as a photographer. So I will leave you with this. What about you? Do you feel more at home stepping closer with a wide lens, or observing from afar with a long one? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, the new hype button, and consider subscribing with a bell. If you would like to support the channel further, you can become a member or find other links down in the description. And if you would like to see how shooting exclusively at f1.8 almost ruined my photography, I will leave that video right here for you. That was all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I will see you on the streets. Bye bye.